Papa Willie story time. This is the story of how I got involved in RC racing. In 1986, my family moved from Asheville, North Carolina to Rome, Georgia. I'd always been involved and interested in racing. Loved watching asphalt racing at our local racetrack in Asheville, North Carolina. I was a big NASCAR fan. I enjoyed some dirt racing too, but I didn't get as much of that. When we moved to Rome, there wasn't any asphalt tracks, but there were dirt tracks, and we would go to those occasionally and enjoy watching that. I had a taste for racing. I wanted to race. But 12 years old, how are you going to go racing? Back then especially. So one day, my parents were shopping at the Piggly Wiggly grocery store. And as 12-year-olds would do back in 1987, I was looking at the magazine rack, just trying to find something to do to keep myself occupied from being bored looking at green beans and canned corn. When I came across this magazine. This is the original magazine. This is the magazine that I bought in 1987. This was obviously RC car model cars. There was another publication, we all know, RC Car Action. But what caught my attention on the front was that huge sprint car right there. I remember taking this magazine to my parents as they were walking down the aisles, and I said, "Dad, look at this." And he said, "That's great." He didn't see what it said up here. I said, "Dad, I want one of these." He says, "Son, you're 12 years old. You can't race a race car." I said, "No, Dad." I opened the book up, the magazine up, and started showing him pictures of RC cars. It was the most amazing thing. And what stood out to me most was there was a sprint car on the front, an oval racing car. Inside the magazine was coverage of this JG Oval Championship race, which was held at the Ranch Pit Shop there in California. Now, I love looking at these pictures. Gene Hustings, got some guys over here. Love those late models. But this car right here stood out to me. This was a Custom Works Dominator with an Andes RC bodies, Mercedes bodies on it. I loved that body. I always wanted one of those. Never got one, but I loved them. Picture of Gil Losi Jr. And then one of the greatest things I liked about this was back in those days, it would give you the results. And it would tell you what kind of car they used and what motor they used. It was just the greatest time in racing. And I told my dad I wanted one of these, and he said, "No, son, there's no way you can get that." So from that point on, I started trying to find a way to get an RC car. In fact, I had a little Nico Turbo Panther that I actually still have the car. It's in pieces. But I took that little Nico Turbo Panther, it had stick radios. I guess I got it at Kmart or something. And I began fashioning my own dirt late model bodies out of cardboard and newspaper aluminum. You could buy sheets of this aluminum they would print the newspapers on back then. And you could buy those sheets for like $5 for 20 or something like that. And I would take those and I would trace them out. I cut them with scissors. And I began making my own late model modified bodies and late model bodies. And it was just the coolest thing. And I would race that thing around the house. I would race it around on our hardwood floors. I remember, I think it was that year that we had a pretty good snow here in Rome. And it got so cold that the snow froze. And I would be outside on that frozen snow with my little Nico Turbo Panther, just running up and down the snow because it was so hard frozen. It would just run across the top of it. The greatest time ever. For Christmas that year, my dad got me a Bolink Eliminator. He got himself one too. And we began looking for places to race. We found a track in Marietta, Georgia, which was about an hour and a half away from us. It was a carpet track. I got to go there about 2 or 3 times. My dad built me a track out of plywood in the backyard, and I would go out there and I would race every day after school as much as I possibly could. And then before long, a track was built here in Rome, surprisingly, and that's where I really got started. So what's your leave a note in the comments, like and follow if you like this.